Professor Zyuxo's tongue flicked out, licking his bulbous reptilian eyes as he surveyed the classroom of students. His gaze lingered on Damisa, the furry red and black quadruped whose tail twitched with nervous anticipation. What is the true meaning of acceptance? Zyuxo's raspy voice carried across the amphitheater. That is the question you must seek to answer during this course. Damisa felt her heart rate quicken. She had been handpicked by the renowned xenobiologist for this program, a 50-year cultural immersion to study the human race up close on their home planet of Earth. Zyuxo's obsession with the human species was legendary. Make no mistake, Zyuxo continued, pacing before the assembled students. Humans are a study in contradiction, fragile yet indomitable, compassionate yet capable of great violence. But make no mistake, it is their acceptance of any into their uniquely vibrant communities that makes them remarkable above all else. Damisa's ears perked up. She had heard the stories, of course. How the humans once responded to a distress signal from Zyuxo's homeworld by selflessly sacrificing their entire starship in a brazen suicide run against an overwhelming enemy, an unheard of act of self-termination for another species. I was there that fateful day, Zyuxo reminisced, staring off into the middle distance. I watched in awe as that human ship emerged from the nebula, its crew defiantly blasting away at the massive enemy flotilla as their own ship became a burning wreck around them. Yet even as they died, their final transmissions played not screams of terror or anguished cries, but music. They went singing their death songs into the void. A hush fell over the lecture hall. Damisa's fluffy tail instinctively curled around her legs. It is said humans mark both the highest peaks of civilization and its lowest depths, Zyuxo said, a hint of fondness breaking through his clinical demeanor. They are the only known species to actively domesticate larger predators, forming bonds with beasts that should terminate them without a second thought. Yet they will just as willingly nurture a defenseless foundling from the most violent races as one of their. He paused, holding the students in rapturous silence. I have witnessed this myself. For over a century, I dwelled amongst the humans, embraced as family. I have watched their young be born, grow old, and die, encompassing each into their ardently bonded communities along the way. Damisa shivered, trying to imagine the depths of empathy required to forge connections across such vast biological and cultural divides. The humans truly were an enigma, violent yet peaceful, fragile yet defiant, and above all else, capable of accepting any into their uniquely impassioned communities. She felt a newfound respect for her professor's lifetime study of this, which is why you are the chosen few, Zyuxo stated, sweeping his gaze over the small cohort. You will be the first to experience extended immersion amongst humanity, to lay bare its contradictions, and if you can expand the infinite expanses of your own capacity for acceptance, perhaps unlock the secrets of their own. With that lofty pronouncement, the preparations began. Damisa and her peers were inundated with the sights, sounds, and cultural artifacts of human civilization. They learned of human bonding rituals like alcohol consumption, entertainment predilections like violence-framed storytelling, the bizarre customs of decorating their bodies with ornate coverings called fashion. Zyuxo himself was a fount of knowledge, having lived among the humans as an adopted member of their communities. He shared tales of human sporting competitions where they would gather in vast stadiums to cheer on displays of physical prowess, successful dances, and mating rituals that seemed to verge on ecstatic frenzy. Of rapturous music and art forms that stirred deep emotional chords. They feel so deeply, these humans, Zyuxo mused during one session while showing images of frenetic human gatherings. From the greatest joy to the profoundest sorrow, they seem to experience the full spectrum of emotion with an intensity that consumes their entire being. As the months crept by and their long voyage finally brought them to the humans' unassuming blue-green world, Damisa found herself anxious yet intoxicated by sheer anticipation. She watched Professor Zyuxo press his leathery palm against the viewing portal, staring at the visage of his second home with an unmistakable tenderness. Beside her, the gelatinous form of her classmate Furbernex gurgled out a few bubbles. This primordial world spawns the mighty humans, so you shouldn't judge by mere appearances, Damisa chided, feeling unusually defensive of the mysterious humans they had spent so long studying yet never truly experienced firsthand. As their transport ship pierced the atmosphere, human voices began transmitting over the communications channel in that vibrant, melodic language Zilxa had taught. This is Earth Orbital Control to incoming transport Exizia. You are cleared for docking at New Calcutta Station. Extend welcome protocols to Genobiology Exchange Program. A greeting party awaits your arrival. Damisa's heart raced within her furry chest. This was it, the moment she would finally encounter the living paradox that was humanity. After checking her harness one last time, she felt the subtle lurch of the ship's docking maneuvers. A hushed silence fell over the students until Zilxa spoke, his voice thick with barely glance. Remember why we are here, my pupils. Seek to accept, as humans accept all others, however contradictory or alien. Only through the expansions of your own boundaries can you hope to unlock the infinite expanse of their own gift for embracing any into their intermingled, uniquely bonded communities. With that, the humans were upon them. The first one through the ingress hatch was a striking female specimen, clad in a skin-tight uniform of cerulean blues and crimsons. Clear panels were visible at the joints of her environmental suit, revealing flashes of suntanned skin. She moved with a lithe, athletic grace completely at odds with the supposedly frail human physiology Damisa had studied. Greetings, travelers, the human called out in their melodic language, spreading her arms wide in a gesture of welcome. I'm Lieutenant Merida Blake, your official greeter and liaison from the New Calcutta Station. Welcome to Earth. Damisa began mentally translating the rapid-fire cadence of Merida's speech patterns. Beside her, Felbroth Delneck seemed to shudder and contract his gelatinous form, as if intimidated by this diminutive yet intense human. Professor Xylexor, however, slid from his harness and effortlessly crossed the distance to bow formally before Merida. Well met, Lieutenant. We are honored and humbled to be welcomed to your homeworld at last. His speaking filters rendered his words in flawless English. The honor is ours, Professor, Merida replied easily, returning his bow. Your studies and writings on our people are legendary. We could not be more delighted to host you and your students for this unprecedented exchange. Humanity has never opened itself up to such prolonged outside study before. Then your people are as gracious as they are remarkable, Zixor said. We have much to learn from your infinite expanse of acceptance. Merida's eyes crinkled in an expression Damisa recognized as a human smile. Then let the learning begin. If you'll all follow me, our introductory immersion is about to commence. As the group made their way to the station's docking ring, Damisa found herself beside the human liaison, studying those unique features up close for the first time. Merida's skin was smooth and relatively hairless, punctuated by a small array of freckles across her pert nose. Her eyes were incredibly striking, large apertures of emerald green framed by thick lashes. And underneath her fitted suit, Damisa could discern the gentle swell of. You can just ask if you're confused about any of my anatomy, Merida said lightly in that lyrical accent. I'm happy to provide context. Damisa felt her cheeks flush beneath her ruddy fur, embarrassed at being so transparently curious. Forgive me, your species is just so contradictory in form compared to what I've studied. You seem so delicate, Merida supplied with a bemused grin, giving Damisa a once-over of her own. I could say the same about your form, yet I know better than to underestimate you based on appearances alone. We humans are full of surprises. Before Damisa could respond, the group entered the docking ring. The force field dropped, exposing them to Earth's atmosphere for the first time. It rushed over Damisa in a warm, gentle caress, slightly thicker than what she was accustomed to, but not unpleasantly so. A rich melange of scents washed over her heightened senses. Welcome to the Earth's embrace, Merida said simply, stepping out onto the station's landing platform. Damisa followed, feeling the artificial deck plates transmitting faint vibrations up into the pads of her feet. But it was the vista surrounding them that stole her breath away. Touching out in every direction was a vivid expanse of gently rolling emerald hills, punctuated by impossibly lush vegetation in every chromatic crystalline ribbons of water wound their way across the undulating landscape, glittering brilliantly under the golden rays of Earth's small, bright star. The very air seemed alive with ephemeral winged creatures dancing amid softly spiraling clouds. Overhead arched a jaw-dropping canopy of azure so brilliantly crystalline, it seemed to entrance the eye with its depth. Scattered throughout drifted indescribably delicate cloud formations, tinged with warm hues of coral and pearl. The entire panorama seemed to hum with vibrant, dynamic energy. Breathtaking, is it not? Merida asked with relish, clearly savoring Demise's awestruck reaction. And this is but one of Earth's infinite biomes. Our world is a tapestry of grandeur and contradictions, simultaneously cradling life in lush abundance while subjecting it to cataclysmic upheaval through volcanic fire and Damisa could only shake her head slowly, trying and failing to find adequate words. This, then, was the true origin of those infinitely accepting paradoxical humans, a world that embraced such violent, clashing dichotomies on a single living. As she watched a pair of humans approach wearing crisp military dress, Damisa felt herself instinctively straightening, determined to soak in every facet of this strange, wonderful, endlessly contradictory people over the coming decades. If the rest of their society was even a fraction as rich and dazzling as this mere first vignette hinted, then perhaps she would finally unlock the meaning behind that core human gift, the ability to accept any and all into the infinite expanse of their communion. Over the next several weeks, Damisa and her peers were fully immersed in the rhythms and rituals of the new Calcutta station. Their days were a dizzying kaleidoscope of new experiences, from sharing boisterous communal meals in the mess hall to observing raucous human athletic competitions called sports. The cacophony of sounds, scents, and sights was a continuous assault on her senses. Yet through it all, Damisa could not help but be struck by the undercurrent of effortless camaraderie amongst these humans. They seemed to move as one interconnected organism, freely sharing jokes and physical contact, celebrating victories together with utter abandon. Even the chaotic space station took on an air of vibrant domesticity. "It's astonishing, is it not?" Merida murmured one evening as they observed a lively awards ceremony where the humans cheered on their peers receiving accolades with thunderous applause and embraces. "No matter our backgrounds, our chosen fields, our appearances, we move as a singular force, always accepting one another into the infinite expanse of our communion." Damisa felt her tail curl unconsciously around her haunches as she watched the revelry. "Yes, I've never witnessed anything like it. You honor both achievement and individuality, yet remain unified as one." Merida laughed lightly. "And that's just our workaday life aboard this little station. Wait until you experience our annual festivals and celebrations of community back on Earth proper." Her emerald eyes danced with undisguised relish. "That's when you'll truly see the breadth of our accepting spirit taking form." True to her word, Damisa's mind was thoroughly blown when their immersion shifted planetside several months later. Zulsa had secured them home stays with families across numerous human communities, from densely packed urban centers to rambling rural. Damisa herself was placed with the O'Connell clan, a boisterous, loving tribe headed by the indomitable maternal figure of 82-year-old Pearl. To Damisa's initial disbelief, she was embraced from the moment she stepped across their threshold, enfolded into the ever-expanding fabric of their interconnect. "Your little fuzzy talker, ain't ya?" Pearl cackled in her strange rootsy dialect, reaching up to pinch Damisa's cheek with callous but loving hands. "Don't you worry none, child. We'll get you folded into this messy bunch just fine." What followed were experiences and revelations that reshaped Demise's very perspective on life. The way the whole sprawling McConnell family seemed to revolve around the kitchen, a boisterous, pleasingly chaotic gathering place where they would cook, laugh, argue, and reconnect over mountainous spreads of artery-clogging yet shockingly delicious. Their local community festivals celebrating the changing seasons, where all members participated in rollicking parades, messy games and competitions, intergenerational dances, and prodigious communal feasting. How effortlessly the McConnells absorbed their neighbors into their ever-fluctuating communal orbit with an infinite capacity for acceptance, including the young romantic refugee they sponsored through an outreach program, embracing the bewildered child as one of their own. The lavish, days-long bonding rituals that accompanied family milestones like marriages and births, each celebration unique yet bonded by a core ethos of unconditional welcome for all into the ever-expanding circle. The resilience of the community in crisis, rallying around those impacted by tragedy or loss with casseroles, comfort, and endless compassion. Through it all, Damisa began to recognize the common threads woven through every aspect of human society, the perpetual outpouring of emotion in its most gloriously unrestrained forms, whether shrieks of exuberant joy or bellows, their embracing of contradictions, balancing raucous wildness with profound tenderness, and underlying it all, an unwavering acceptance, an infinite capacity to find commonality where other species saw only impassable divides. It mirrored the truth of their planet itself, Damisa realized, a living tapestry that cradled life in lush abundance, while simultaneously subjecting it to cataclysmic upheaval. The humans had evolved to not only accept this duality, but to revel in it, to eternally contradict themselves by both fiercely cherishing every connection while boldly moving onward into the unknown, shattering limits and redefining possibility with each new generation. As Damisa's 5 decades of immersion came to a close, Professor Ziluxa paid her one final visit. Nestled happily amongst the riotous sea of great-great-grandchildren swarming around Pearl's feet, his wizened face creased with undisguised fondness as he observed her contentedly sipping sun-brewed tea while entertaining a gaggle of sticky-fingered youngsters with their latest tale. "You know, my dear Damisa," the old professor murmured in their native tongue, "when I first brought you here all those decades ago, you walked with ramrod posture, every fiber of your being straining to logic out our endlessly paradoxical human hosts." Zogsa's tongue rasped out to lick his eyes in amusement, yet Damisa barely noticed the quirk in her own engrossed state, instinctively reaching out to ruffle the mop of vibrant curls on the nearest child. You'd now look at you, softened, relaxed, even echoing their mannerisms as you claim these little ones as your own. You have discovered the meaning behind their infinite expanses of acceptance. Have you not, my prized pupil? Damisa paused, her dark eyes crinkling with a rueful smile. You were right, as you always were about them. Even in preparing us at the outset, their contradictions only hinted at the true depths of their spirit. She straightened to look directly at Zilxa, gesturing out at the sprawling circus of activity consuming the McConnell homestead. Here is a species that learned to embrace both the wonder and terror of their living world, and in so doing